How's it going, everybody? Welcome to OP Entertainment. I'm Omar Darwish.
And I'm Pratik Cherian.
And this is episode 3 of Loki, what was it called?
Lamentus.
The Lamentus.
We Not just go over it. Just Lamentus.
Lamentus, right? The famous Lamentus planet from the comics, right?
That's right. Rich history. No, it doesn't. I don't know.
So usually when we get to the third episode of a series, we go pretty much all spoilers, but just your brief thoughts before we go into spoilers. What did you think of this episode, Pratik?
Yep,
we're gonna need a t-shirt, an OP Entertainment t-shirt of us just yawning, because that seems to be our when we don't like something, that's our review.
No, in all seriousness, this, if I had to in a one sentence, this episode is complete side mission energy.
It's side quests almost. Yep. Yeah, I feel you. So is that all you have to say about it, spoiler free?
Yeah, that's it. That's all I got.
For me, spoiler free, all I'm going to say is this episode felt like it was trying to go somewhere that it never got to. And for me, that was really irritating. I didn't think it was a very great episode overall, but I think we're just going to have to go into spoilers for now.
To be honest, though, we're like spoiler warning and all of that, but did anything, like, there's one line that's like a spoiler. Did anything else happen where you're just like, man, like, I can't wait to talk about this?
I can't wait to talk about next week's episode. You know what? I'm going to be the positive one here. I thought it was serviceable. This episode was serviceable. It was a filler episode, and it was good in a sense of being a filler episode. Other than that, as far as character development from Lady Loki / Enchantress, we still don't know. We don't know anything about her.
Yeah, so this episode basically the entire episode is Loki and Lady Loki like traveling together on this planet that they find themselves.
Yeah,
and that's the entire
a doomed planet.
Right,
and they're trying to get off. Right.
Yeah, that's the episode. And so for an episode that spends so much time where it's just like these two characters, boy, we don't know anything about one of them at all.
Yeah, and it's like she could be likable. Like, I don't hate her yet, but like they haven't given us any reason to like her per se, right? So I mean,
I can't remember the last time I watched a character on screen for 40 minutes and walked away feeling like I didn't learn anything about them one way or the other.
You know how this episode wasn't great? Because I looked at how long the episode was. I was like, 42 minutes? That's way shorter than the rest of them. Damn it. And then we get like halfway through and I'm like, oh, God, can this end? Like, I just really wanted it to end. And I was really hoping that something at the end was going to happen to justify everything else that came prior. But it was just no development from anybody. I like the cinematography. I like the score. The score to Loki is like one of the best scores.
I did like the score. The score was great. The cinematography was fine. There were portions where like the effects were really bad.
Like, we get at Disney, you have stagecraft technology. Like, it seemed like they were really showing that. And I think it's getting better from season 1 of Mandalorian to like now, as far as how well their stagecraft technology fits in with like real life. But at the end of the day, this episode just didn't have anything to offer other than we get a bit of a reveal, at least from her. At least it could be a total lie, right? But Lady Loki says that the TVA are actually variants and they're not created by the Timekeepers. So what did you think about that? Was that a big... No?
No, I mean, listen, like, it never made sense to me that the Timekeepers who are trying to like keep the sacred timeline would then create all of these living beings, but make them just like humans. Like,
yeah, why humans also? Like
if they literally were just creating it and they have all of time at their disposal, you figure we'd get like
different aliens and different
aliens.
Yeah.
Like, it should feel like a sci-fi set, not an office comedy.
If they're all like variants, why wouldn't you just get variants of like Thanos or like something, like bulk up your army? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why is everybody just some random dude in a suit or like?
I at some point will probably learn about like a conversion process or something that the TVA does to like make them compliant or whatever, and it'll be like, oh, these people are too powerful to whatever. I don't know.
Do you feel like we've gotten more out of Loki in this episode, as far as we look at him a bit differently than we did last episode, or nah, nothing?
So I feel like this episode, there was a real opportunity for Loki and by extension us to examine Loki through the lens of a variant, right? Like, this is who Loki could be. This is like another life, a road less traveled, all of that. But because we don't learn anything about Sylvie, can we just call her Sylvie? Is that easier?
I think
that's what she says to call her. So,
or Mandy.
Because we don't learn anything about Sylvie, with that comparison, you can't really make it because we don't know what we're comparing to.
I just feel like they're trying to ship them. Yes, like we joked about it last pod that they could be dating like each other, but what does it not seem like that's the
no? Because Loki and Mobius had better chemistry than those two.
True, but
honestly, I feel like I missed him so much
when she like holds his face and like trying to enchant him or whatever. There's little moments, and they're talking about love. Like I don't know. That's not like a.
I don't know. Most of their conversations felt really forced. There was a lot of like, Loki, for like a god of like lies and mischief and all of this, like you're just like spilling your guts all of a sudden. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, I really, honestly, I feel like this is the most skippable episode of most Disney Plus shows so far. Like,
this might be the most skippable episode of any Disney Plus show that,
aside from the boat episode of Falcon.
But see, even there's stuff that happens. You just like that's a skippable scene.
I'll give you that. There's stuff that happens.
More happens in that episode than in this episode. That's for sure.
I think I'd be more willing to rewatch this episode, but I gotta say, when I go back and watch Loki again, I don't know if I'm gonna watch this episode again. I just feel like we didn't get anything out of it, and as long as I remember the TVA variant thing, there's nothing really.
To me, the sign that I was like checked out of this episode was I'm watching Tom Hiddleston, and once again, like copy and paste from previous episodes. Tom Hiddleston did a great job, like his acting and everything. Like he's really into this character. But I can't tell you how many times I was watching it. I was just like, man, I'd love to see Tom Hiddleston cast as insert thing here, because it's like I don't know. There were certain scenes where they're on this planet and they're like he's running around and he's like dressed really nice. I'm like, they should cast Tom Hiddleston as Doctor Who. And then like that scene with like the lady that they run into who like.
Is Doctor Who not a time-traveling detective? Isn't that what they're pretty much doing?
Right, and I'm just like, man, I'd love to see him in that. Like, that would be fun. But there's that scene where that like lady in the shack that they find who like shoots them or whatever. Yeah. But I'm like, man, like Tom Hiddleston would be fun in like a Borderlands type like movie kind of thing.
Can I just say, Lady in the Shack gave me real vibes of what was the lady from Mandalorian who was very annoying that we couldn't stand. I can't even remember her name. I think I blocked her from my psyche. But she gave me those vibes for sure. I really couldn't wait for her to be off screen.
She was better. She was better than the Mandalorian lady.
Well, she wasn't an SNL character, but aside from that, she wasn't that great. I really want to see more from Sylvie. Like I thought we were talking about this off camera, but I thought that in the beginning when they were showing her like out to dinner or whatever, and with that TV agent, I thought maybe we're gonna get some backstory for her. We didn't get that as much as I enjoyed that scene.
Actually, going back to that scene, what I did like about that scene is it really is that like inside look at how
her powers work,
how enchantment works. I just wish that that scene's at the beginning, and then she actually explains it to Loki like later on at the very end.
Yeah, I would have liked her to have explained anything else about herself.
Well, but not just that, but I kind of feel like I wish those two scenes had been closer together, because like then when she was explaining it, like yes, I guess you can like connect it back like, oh, that's what I was watching the first time, but honestly, like we knew that, like the episode made it clear that
I just wish they would have used that time to give us more about her and not how her powers work.
Well, at the very end, like when they're getting to the town, I think wasn't it where Loki was like, oh, like I've been telling you everything about myself, like I don't know anything about you,
and she's like, it's strategic.
So like I guess like I don't know whether that's like intentional or that was the writers being like, oh damn, we forgot to like give her anything to say, like let's make her acknowledge it. Okay, cool, problem solved.
Part of me feels like this episode was supposed to be like 55 minutes or something like the rest of them, and they got through it and they got to the editing board and they were like, man, this is really boring already. We can't make people go another 10 minutes of this. Let's just cut all of her character development. That's really what it feels like, honestly. Like,
if this is the result of that, like they could have cut another 12 minutes and been fine.
Let's not kid ourselves. This isn't Warner Brothers. This isn't Suicide Squad. This isn't Warner Brothers. Like they know what they're doing, right? So I really don't have much to say about this episode because this episode didn't have much to say about anything.
Before we score it, then
sure.
Give me one positive thing about the episode. I'll say one positive thing about the episode, and then we'll score it. How about that?
I mean, the only thing I'm hanging on to is I like the cinematography. Fair enough, and the score was pretty great. Tom Hiddleston, while I didn't like any of the dialogue that was coming out of his mouth, he delivered it in a serviceable way. And I'll tell you this. I'll give you another one. I like the variant reveal that at least we're supposed to believe that they are now all variants, right? But
which makes sense.
That's my question for you though. Do you think that she's telling the truth? Or?
Yeah, I think so. She has no incentive to lie.
But she's Loki.
Is she? Don't call her that. No. For me, I think weird as it is, my positive thing is I actually really liked the Loki singing on the train.
That
scene.
was the worst. Yeah, you take that. You take that and you put that with the boat scene. That was the worst. The only good part was another.
That was really funny. That was the like.
It also kind of felt improv and forced, though. Honestly, like I don't know. I just really didn't. It worked, but it was funny.
Worked. I don't know. I just felt like that was the scene where Tom Hiddleston was really cutting loose, like to the max, and I just enjoyed it. I had fun. I'm like, yeah, I'd hang out with him.
Yeah.
All right, you want to score this?
I'm going to go ahead and give this one a 5. I want to give it a 6 so bad because I feel like there's some redeemable qualities about it, but there are way too many negatives for this episode for me to think of it anything higher than just mundane. So I'm going to give it a 5.
Yeah. I'm going between a 4 and a 5. I think I'm going to stick with a 5.
Okay. So you didn't hate it.
You could probably talk me into it. I'm just very like meh on the whole thing. Like yeah, like technically speaking, like we've said it before. Like Hiddleston's acting was great. Even I can't remember the actress who plays Sylvie, but even her like. Again, like not that she went above and beyond, but I didn't hate it. Like
she did the best she could with what she was given, for sure.
Right.
They
gave her a weird character. Yeah, they gave her a weird character. I feel like
I don't know if I'm ready to even say that. I just think this episode just was
maybe
not
that
handled
too.
Right. Was this the same director as every other episode?
I think so. Somebody can go back and fact.
I said this when we were watching it. I really feel like this was supposed to be like a 2-hour movie, and they just added a bunch of stuff to it that just doesn't need to be there. Like maybe we are gonna get character development that was supposed to happen, like in this episode, and the next episode. They just needed a bit of a stretch. Like, and so where do you think they're going from here? Like, how do they get off of this doomed planet?
I don't know. I kind of thought
their iPad is dead.
For it to truly be like a filler episode, we should have had the getting off the planet
that's what I was thinking.
At the end of this, and we didn't.
They didn't fly away on Appa with this music. So
honestly, and to me, that's the thing that discourages me the most and why I'm not looking forward to next week is I don't want to see them on this planet anymore. I'm tired of it. Let's get back to something else. But I hope
what I'm thinking. Here's my prediction. I think the TVA is going to arrest them on that planet.
Well, I kind of thought that was her plan. That was Loki's plan, right? Like if we make sure that this ship gets off, that'll create a branching timeline. Then the TVA will show up because otherwise they still don't have a way off the planet.
I also think Loki knows the TVA can find him, so he's almost like an Apple tag in a sense. And he's like, okay, I'm just like going with her so you guys can find it. Which is I really feel like in the last episode he could have said that, like, I'm not running away to betray you guys. Like
no, because they can't find him, right? They just detect variant energy, and that's why they're in apocalypses.
So why did they say you can't run? We'd find you. You know what I mean?
I don't know. Isn't that what people who are chasing other people say?
I guess so.
All right, but yeah, that's all I've got.
I think that's all I've got. Regardless of this episode being, I'm really excited for next week, honestly. I want to know where we're going. I'm actually more excited about next week's episode than I was about this episode. Because, like, now at least, I feel like we can't get 2 wastes of episodes in a row, right? So at least something's got to happen.
First time for everything.
I hope not. Not with Loki. Don't do this to me, Marvel.
All right, take us out.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. We will hit you next week with another review of episode 4, I suppose. Make sure you're tuning into our OP Entertainment News podcast, our recommendation show. Yeah, thanks, guys.
See you then.